Hey ChatGPT, define feature film.
A feature film is a full-length motion picture, typically with a runtime of at least 60 minutes, or 40 minutes according to...
I'll stop you right there. So a few months ago, I had the opportunity to write an entire soundtrack for admittedly my own feature film, and Sam, I learned a lot from it. It's been a long-term goal of mine to eventually be able to exclusively score my own adventure videos on my other channel with my own music, but I think what made it particularly hard for me is that other people's works are just so dang good, and getting to that level would take a lot of work, and I could be spending that time making other videos and just putting up with other people's music because, I mean, like I said, other people's music just works really well. I use a lot of video game soundtracks, and that kind of drives sort of the vibes of my videos. Throughout posting at the end of last year on my channel, I stockpiled like 8 to 9 videos and worked on them and then just released them weekly. So I had a lot of this time to be able to put into learning these skills. My straight line mission video, I decided I was going to score the entire thing on my own. And not only that, I decided to edit the entire video and then put the audio into my FL Studio, so like my digital audio workspace, and then play along with it, like reacting to what I was seeing on screen and like really live scoring it. So I wasn't like writing music to put in the video. I put the video into the music, almost as if it were a musical, although I didn't like incorporate the music in that way. It taught me way more than I thought it would. Like, I think I've progressed as a music producer and a musician more in those 2 weeks than I have maybe at all. The speed at which I learned stuff, I think, has been unmatched. I mean, compared to like when I was a very beginner, like way back in like 5th grade, I guess I was learning like how to read music and stuff, which was probably pretty accelerative learning. But
okay, hi, my name's Kyler, and well, what instrument is this?
yeah. Now, before I dive into exactly what I learned, I want to kind of talk about the tracks themselves and sort of my inspirations. C418 is a huge influence on me. For those who don't know, he's like the Minecraft music guy. I own, I think, like 6 of his albums. I mean, you guys are familiar with the Minecraft music. I shouldn't get too far into it. But I also like love that kind of spacey vibe from the Mario Galaxy soundtrack. Bohito Yokata and Koji Kondo just did a wonderful job. I mean, yet again, I don't feel like I need to explain myself here. And on my channel, I always tend to gravitate toward using music that kind of gives off that same spacey, sort of like melancholy eeriness, but also like kind of warmth that you get. I'm thinking like, I'll play the track right now. Like, this is just a very like vast song, and in my head it kind of like sparks a sense of wonder, but also it's a little bit kind of like, I don't know, at least to me, I kind of feel like on edge, especially when playing the game, because you're like in space, it's very precarious, and you could like fall off at any moment. And maybe that's what kind of drives that emotion, is that I have experience playing the game. But I don't know, it's just the vibe. And I think that's ultimately what makes me gravitate toward writing my own music, because I can control the emotions and the vibes with much finer detail. And I think it's valuable to be able to do that. I think this sort of drive to perfect my videos in a way to where they're fitting exactly how I envision them and exactly how I want them to be, as if I were a viewer of my own channel, I think that sometimes is to my own detriment. I really don't like complying with like other people's metrics of what a good video is, and I don't like doing trends that I see, because I don't want to give up my own vision of my channel just to be able to get more views, potentially. This kind of sounds pretentious, but like, I don't know. I mean, I have in the past, but I just way prefer making videos that are the way I would want them to be if I were the viewer. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be like a Mr. Beast. There are tons of Mr. Beast people on YouTube. Anyway, I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying. Talking more specifically about the soundtrack, there is an overarching sort of motif that I utilize, and really, Sam, in our EP Stranger, we had that sort of chord progression that we were using in a lot of the songs, and even now we're still finding ourselves using that, what we call the Blake chord. That's happened again in this soundtrack, although I don't think as heavily. Back in the day, I learned how to play the Super Mario World like game over song or like little fanfare on the piano that goes like this. Because of who I was roommates with in college, I also have this like ingrained feel or kind of like rhythmic sense for like bossa nova on guitar, just because he would play bossa nova music on his guitar all the time. And so like coming home from college, I was able to pick up that rhythm pretty quickly on my own guitar. I kind of just have that rhythmic pattern at my disposal now because I've already learned it. So I applied it to that chord progression. I ended up writing, like I wanted to have like a B part to that. This took me a long time to figure out, but I experimented with like, so like the first thing that came naturally to me was this. So that would buy me a little bit more time here. But then like, where do you go from here? And so I just kind of started experimenting and I'm like, okay, that kind of sounds like a good next chord. And so I just like kind of mess around with my right hand until I got something that kind of sounded right. And then, I don't know, kind of just keep adding to it until it sounds right. And now that was kind of like a whole day's work. A whole few days of just experimentation on the chord progression, forcing myself to use this chord progression because I was like dead set on using this because I just loved how it sounded. It helped me learn how to develop chord structures and progressions, but it also taught me like how to play piano better. I don't know, this whole experience has just taught me how to become a better musician all around, little by little. I ended up taking that chord progression in a few different directions as well. I took it this kind of like staccato feel. That's probably like my favorite one to play. There's also the like and even recently, because this story doesn't end with this soundtrack, because I've been writing music on my channel ever since then. I didn't want to keep diving back into that chord progression because it kind of felt played out. But then I was like experimenting on this most recent video that will actually go up tomorrow with 5/4, and it ended up turning into 11/8. It has that take 5 vibe. It just feels like such a versatile chord progression. I don't know, I'm just like glued onto it. But aside from those tracks on the soundtrack, which I didn't write in succession, I wrote like one of those and then moved on to a different thing in the soundtrack and then went back to that. Another thing it kind of taught me was to just like play a chord with a certain synth and then just kind of vibe out to it and just add random layers. And that's kind of the beauty that comes from writing a soundtrack, because it's background music. So you can get away with stuff just being really simple. That feeling drove the entire soundtrack, was just doing whatever I want. Although I will say, I burnt myself out like 1/3 into the feature film. And I ended up having to take like a multi-day break. I think it was like 5 days or something, because like I was just so dead. I used up all of my creativity. I quickly learned creativity is a resource that you have to like sort of manage and budget. When I got done writing music for the day, I would go downstairs and I just wasn't able to like do anything creative. I haven't really experienced that, but I was like driving myself very hard to do this because it was way out of my comfort zone. I've never done anything to this caliber before. I'm not like saying it's an amazing thing or that any of the songs are like particularly amazing. It is a step in the direction of the goals I want to achieve on my main channel. Looking at it as a stepping stone, I think I delivered pretty well on that. And I mean, certainly, objectively, I wrote the soundtrack and it is decent enough that I felt comfortable using it on my video. And with that lens, I think it is an achievement. Plus, I learned a ton of things, and I'm going to be able to be better at writing music, not only for my channel, but for our band. Now, I wrote a whole bunch of other things since then, and Sam, you have not heard the majority of them. I've been making stupider and stupider stuff that I'm going to end up using on my channel, and because I've gotten better at it, like, it's rarer for me to have dead-end projects. So lately, a lot of the stuff I've been throwing at the wall has been okay enough for me to feel comfortable using on my channel. So this song, I don't even know what to call it. It's breakcore, which is not something I would have thought I'd be using on my channel, but I thought it'd be kind of funny. Oh, and this is a track I specifically wrote to fit in a specific part in the video. I guess I should mention, since the soundtrack, the long soundtrack for the Straight Line video, I've changed the way I've been doing the music. So I'll write a piece that I intend to use in the video or in a video. And as I'm making the video, when I think I want to use it, I'll open up my DAW and have my my video editor side by side pretty much. And I'll like count out the beats of when I want things to happen in the video. So like, oh, I'm talking for like 22 beats, and then it cuts away to like a montage, so then I know to like the chorus should start there. If there's a specific shot that's like 19 beats in or something, then I want like the drums to cut there or something like that. So I've just been, instead of bringing it into my DAW all at once, to incorporate it into my video editing cycle, I've sort of changed my workflow, and I think it's probably the best way to do it for me. Now that I've done it a few different ways, I've done writing music and then just using it as like putting your own music in an arsenal that you can just use in your editor. I've tried live scoring it, like I mentioned, for the soundtrack, and now I've tried this, and this feels the most natural. I mean, it is the third iteration. I end up with tons of different versions of the same song on my hard drive. I chopped the amen break myself, actually. It just has this very full sound, and I'm not like 100% happy with how it turned out. I think the layering sounds a little off, but I couldn't figure out how to do it the correct way, and it's good enough, so I just rolled with it. I also wrote, for One Call episode 6, this kind of like vocoder beat, which I think turned out really good. Like, the mixing, I think, is as good as it could be. It's also funny because I'm writing these songs for specific videos, the lyrics I put into them, oh yeah, I guess I've started putting lyrics into these videos because I think it's hilarious to have like a custom song for the video. I'm almost turning these videos into music videos for the music I'm making for the videos, which is kind of funny, I think. I don't know, I feel like to experience the music in its fullness, you just need to watch the videos I make them for, which I guess makes sense. I don't know why that feels weird to me. I've also been, so there'll be like main songs for videos, but then occasionally I'll just have a musical idea and start a new project, and then it'll turn into like a different song for the video, like this. I don't even have names for these. I'll probably like make an album, another like channel soundtrack. This is just like, I woke up in the morning, it's super cold. You wouldn't release that on its own in an album. I wrote that for the video, and it works because it's background music, but it allowed me to learn how to create those sounds, and I'll eventually probably use them to make more complex music for albums that I can release on their own. And that doesn't mean I don't love this as much as I love other music that we've written or I've written that does kind of work standalone. I don't know, I'm interested to see how these lessons I've learned play into our music creation together. I also have this. This was kind of like a... This is kind of the crux of my argument here. Through just sheer experimentation, I was able to get this like really good sounding just piece of music here. Keep in mind the glitchiness is sort of because of the video, like that's why I wanted to add the glitchiness. Like if I were writing this for its own sake, I don't know if I would have added that kind of sound layer. Because I was trying to achieve a certain vibe in the video, I ended up putting it in, And I also learned how to make like a glitchy sample like that. And it's very like C418y. I just, man, that's always been a goal of mine. I just want to become C418 because I love his music. I think the moral of the story today, Sam, is to just embrace mediocrity. And I know I've been saying this for a few months. What making music for my channel has allowed me to do is accept music that I make that I don't feel like is good enough to put out into the world. But I'm using it as background music, so I'm like, well, why not just use it? And because of that, it allows me to iterate a lot faster. I guess that's kind of like the background moral of the story, is that like, go as quickly as possible through music, or through writing projects and music and stuff, because with each iteration, you'll learn something new and you'll get better and better and better, and I hope to continue to get better. Anyway, that's all I have for you this week, Sam. I'm looking forward to hearing you next week, and I'll play us out. Very quickly, I know this was a very, very long Bridge Rose vlog. It was my first one, and I felt like I needed to catch up. Little sneak peek for my next installment. I'm writing stuff for other people. Here's a little thing I wrote in like 30 minutes for someone.
We're mining blocks, but I ain't going for gold. 2,000 blocks down and I'm not even cold. Got